Let me give you a few very tactical things that are surprisingly effective, and you can use all or a version of these if you want or not. The first is to prepare. And by prepare, I mean, I don't like to have a huge list of questions because that's overwhelming. And when you're trying to pay attention to them, it's hard to multitask and look at your next question. The way I like to do this is I think of checkpoints, meaning I need to be able by the end of the call to check these 4 or 5 things off. What questions I ask under each checkpoint depend, and I'm going to have to kind of improvise as I go. I may have a sample question under each checkpoint, and I'll give you an example. And I'll think of more as I get into it. That's why I'd rather the questions be more organic than pre-written. So, like I always like to start with a challenge checkpoint, which is I'm trying to understand their challenge or their objectives, or it could be both, right? So my standard question for that is, what are you looking to accomplish here? Okay, very open-ended. And that usually kicks things off. Okay, so that might be the only sample question that I have under that checkpoint. But anyway, have your checkpoints are usually this: challenge/objectives, the importance of that, which kind of it's its own thing. Why is it important? Then the next checkpoint would be how they're thinking about it. Because you could tell me what you want to achieve. You can tell me why it's important. I need to now get a little bit more tactical and understand, okay, how are you thinking about it? That's usually where the specific project and deliverables come up, if they haven't already. So that is the other value of using checkpoints. Sometimes you have these checkpoints, and just by asking a question under the first one, you can kind of check off some of the other ones, right? But if it hasn't come up, then you have the checkpoint as a reminder. Timing would be another one. And then budget. Okay, I always leave budget. This is sequential for a reason, by the way. I always leave budget at the end. Talk money. But I leave it at the end because I need to have context first, and they need to have context of value before we talk money. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing would be to be very clear about what the objective of the call is. You may know it, but maybe they might not know it. So I like to always kick things off with, hey, thank you for meeting with me. So as I understand it, our objective here today, we got 20, 25 minutes, however long it is. To remind them of that, though. As I understand it, our objective is to find out if we have a potential fit. At that point, if we do, we can schedule another time to get into some more of the detail. Whatever your process might be, Linda, but let them know. First of all, not only are you reminding them of these things, you're taking charge. And that is from a kind of a power dynamic that's very important. You take charge. And then the third tip I have won't work as much here, but it works really well if you are brought in, if you go into a client's office or a prospect's office, and there's a whiteboard, write down the objective on the whiteboard. I learned that from my friend Austin Church. What he does, the reason he uses it, if the call, and this is especially true when you have 4 or 5 people in that boardroom, when it kind of starts going off down these rabbit holes, so you can point to, guys, I just want to, bring us back to our objective here, and it's tangible. You're pointing to, it's called higher authority. It's what people at restaurants do. It's if you try to negotiate at McDonald's. I don't know, $4.50 sounds really high. How about $3? Sir, I just work here. You see the prices? That's higher authority. It's perfect. So that's great in person. And again, you have several people, which things can get out of control. And then I'll give you one last little tactical thing to get people who have gotten sidetracked back on track. And I love it. It's the pause button. Hey, Linda, that's great. I see where you're going with that. Can we put that on pause for a second? I want to make sure we get back to ... That's a very gentle way to tell someone what you're saying is important. Let's come back to that. Let's hit pause on that. And let's get back to this. Because I want to make sure we only got about 5 minutes left. I want to be respectful of your time. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. So if you use all those things, It's not that it's going to go perfect, but you need a plan. You need a plan, and you need these tools, and you got to come into it prepared. Otherwise, these strong personalities, type A, they're just going to take over and steamroll.